Cheez-It in 10 cheesy flavors. Cheesy, crunchy satisfaction.
A Cheez-It is 1 inch wide. It weighs 1.3 grams. You eat a dozen of them in 30 seconds without thinking. But here is something that might surprise you. That cracker took 24 hours to make, not because the factory is slow, because the dough has to rest for a full day before it can be rolled. Skip that rest and the sheets tear. The surface sticks to the rollers, and the cracker loses its snap. Every year, the Battle Creek plant in Michigan runs 200 million pounds of Cheez-It. Every batch sits in a holding room for a full day before a single cracker reaches the oven. This is how a cheese cracker earns its crunch. The front of the box says 100% real cheese. Flip it over and read the ingredient list. First ingredient, enriched flour. Second, vegetable oil. Third, cheese made from skim milk. The cheese is real. The claim is accurate, but the cracker is mostly flour and oil. The cheese is a component, not the foundation. So how much cheese actually goes in? 30 million pounds per year. A blend of cheddar and cheese made from skim milk equal to the daily output of 15,000 cows. The cheese does not arrive shredded or powdered. It arrives in blocks so heavy they move by forklift. And what happens to those blocks inside the factory is where the process begins. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Enriched flour, vegetable oil, and salt go into the mixer first. Then ice water. Not because the recipe needs cold water, but because the mixer blades generate friction. Without ice, the dough temperature climbs before mixing is finished and the texture shifts. Paprika comes next, but not straight from the bag. Workers premix it with water, salt, and sugar in a separate slurry. This step exists because dry paprika dumped into a running mixer clumps. The result is orange spots instead of even color. The slurry distributes uniformly from the start. Then the cheese. Each block weighs 500 pounds. A forklift carries it to a machine that works like an industrial extruder, pushing the block through a die and forming it into thin, twisted strands. Those strands blend into the dough far more evenly than a solid mass would. The full batch mixes for 14 minutes. The mixed dough goes to a holding room. It will stay there for 24 hours. But what happens during that day is a separate story. When the dough comes out, it is firm, smooth, and no longer sticky. Rollers press it into a thin sheet, but not in one pass. The factory layers sheets on top of each other, then rolls the stack through heavier rollers. A single sheet pressed too thin in one pass tears. Multiple layers compressed together hold. The layered sheet enters a forming section. Rotating cutting rollers press the surface pattern, stamp the square outlines, and punch a single hole in the center of each cracker in one pass. That hole is called a Docker hole. Inside a 300-foot oven reaching 700 degrees Fahrenheit, moisture in the dough turns to steam. Without the hole, steam has no exit. The cracker puffs into a pillow and comes out soft. The Docker hole vents steam from the center outward, keeping every cracker flat and brittle. Salt falls across the surface. The sheet enters the oven and does not come out for 3.5 minutes. Multiple heat zones, each set to a different temperature, dry and toast the dough in stages. In the hottest section, the air reaches 700 degrees Fahrenheit, 8,000 pounds per hour moving through a tunnel longer than a football field. When the sheet exits, the squares are still connected. A vibrating breaker shakes the baked sheet along the pre-stamped cut lines. It snaps apart into individual crackers. Packaging machines at the end of the line seal over 122 million crackers per hour, 80 billion per year, 240 per box. From ice water to sealed carton, the sequence never changes. Mix, rest, sheet, layer, stamp, bake, break, pack. Here is what happens during those 24 hours. The gluten network has been stretched and compressed by 14 minutes of mixing. It is tense. Under tension, dough springs back when rolled. It resists sheeting. It sticks to metal. Given a full day, the gluten strands relax. The protein matrix softens. Moisture redistributes evenly through the mass. The surface loses its tackiness as a thin, dry layer forms. At the same time, enzymes in the flour break down starches into simpler sugars. Those sugars react with amino acids during baking to produce the golden color and the toasted flavor. Rush the dough at 12 hours and it will roll, but the cracker tastes flat and pale. The flavor needs the full day. Here is where the story flips. The company that invented this cracker never saw what it became. Green and Green of Dayton sold the business to Loose Wiles Biscuit Company in 1932. Loose Wiles became Sunshine Biscuits in 1947. Keebler acquired Sunshine in 1996. Kellogg acquired Keebler in 2001. In 2024, Mars, the company behind Snickers and M&M's, bought Kellanova for nearly $30 billion. 5 owners in 104 years. The recipe barely changed. The red and yellow box appeared in the 40s. 400 million packages sold every year. Same cracker, same shape, same hole. $30 billion for a formula that still rests a full day before it bakes. The cracker started in Dayton, a city once called the City of 1,000 Factories. In 1907, Weston Green and his father bought a local bakery that had been making hard butter crackers since 1841. They renamed it Green and Green and produced grahams, ginger snaps, and a wartime product called hard bread. Soldiers called it worm castles. After the war, customers wanted something lighter. In 1921, Green and Green trademarked a cheese cracker they marketed as a baked rarebit. Welsh rarebit was a British dish. Melted cheddar and beer spread over toast. The cracker was a shelf-stable version that cost 10 cents a pound and lasted 11 months without refrigeration. It fed Americans through the post-war recession, the 20s, and the Great Depression. The box says cheese. The ingredient list says flour. The factory says 24 hours. And the cracker says 1 inch, 1.3 grams, 1 whole. None of those facts contradict each other. They just tell different parts of the same story. What you taste when you bite a Cheez-It is not cheese alone. Cheese is the third ingredient. What you taste is the paprika slurry that sets the color without clumping, the layered sheets that create the flake without tearing, the Docker hole that releases steam without puffing, the 24 hours of enzymatic breakdown that turns flat dough into golden, toasted flavor. Remove any one of those steps and the cheese cannot carry the cracker on its own. The cheese is the name. The process is the product. Next time you reach into the box, look at what you are holding. A square that has not changed shape in over a century. That took a full day to rest. That passed through 5 companies and a $30 billion acquisition, and still costs less than $1 a box to make. 1 inch, 1 whole, 1 day of waiting. You will eat it in a second and never think about it again. But now you know what that second cost. That is the process. We reveal how things actually work, one story at a time. If there is something you would like us to explore next, let us know. Until then, trust the process.